A warm welcome to our listeners to a new episode of LadyHeard. So today we'll be talking about why we should be comfortable with discomfort. And so the other day I was thinking about how much we try to kind of run away from situations that make us feel uncomfortable. And I cannot really precise when in time, but at some point, I think almost naturally we started associating discomfort with something necessarily bad, with a misfortune, with something to be corrected, a problem to be solved. And I think we learned, as much as we taught, that we should be at ease all the time. And how? By feeling safe and assured, because we know the drill, right? And whatever is yet to come can be easily predictable. So we keep our 9 to 5s because having a permanent contract kind of give us this assurance or this stability. But we stop at the same time. We stop ourselves from unlocking new hobbies, of trying things that we've never done before, or even just trying to put our energy into developing a new skill that perhaps we're going to turn out discovering we are actually good at. So, personally, I believe a lot is lost by seeing things from this perspective. And how do you react when you find yourselves in a situation of discomfort? Come on, ladies, just give me your inputs.
First of all, I have to say I probably have a little anxiety crisis because
Hey.
I don't know, like, especially if it's a new situation that I've never lived before. So I have to, like, my brain is start brainstorming very quickly about possible solutions to find to ease the sensation of discomfort. Or I distract myself. So I watch videos, I don't know, I just talk to people, I go out, I just, tend to, like, not really focus on the problem. So I tend to kind of avoid it. But ultimately, like, this procrastination technique doesn't work for very long, because the problem is still there. So either you just sit there and you face it, like, properly, or, like, you try to find the most effective solution, or it will not go away. So that's my healthy non-coping mechanism.
When did you realize about it?
I think it evolved with time, meaning that now I think I tend to procrastinate a little bit more. Before I was more like, okay, no, I need to do this, I need to do that. And, like, for some things, I'm very reactive and proactive, so I do it immediately. But other things, if I can procrastinate a little bit, I don't mind. But then ultimately, like, I need to sit down and then, like, I don't know, I catch up on what I didn't do for the past time. So yeah, that's how it works for me. Eva?
I think we're similar in a way where I also have anxiety and I tend to overthink a lot. And usually I overthink like bad things that could happen when I don't know the situation, so bad outcomes. So yeah, and then the fight and flight response comes in place. I usually have to not listen my what I'm thinking and just try to force and go with what's coming to me. And I do procrastinate a lot as well. So I tend to need reassurance from other people around me when I'm trying something new. Going with someone that I trust is always helping.
Well, procrastination.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a terrible thing, because there is this book from Aidan Grant, and he called Originals. I strongly recommend everyone to read it. And in one part of the book, you bring up this concept of strategic procrastination. So what is the idea is that you leave things for later because you know that if you delay just a little bit, you're going to do better. Some people work better under pressure. Some people need to get inspired to develop whatever they need to develop, you see. But of course, you're putting yourself a deadline to start doing things, okay? So it is, let's say, a coping mechanism when it comes to getting out of your comfort zone, right? But you have a deadline. So that's the difference. That's why it becomes a strategic. Like, you allow yourself to delay a little bit because eventually it can come out better than doing right away. I think it's interesting. Procrastination is definitely a good topic, but there's one thing that I would like to ask you. And whenever I was thinking about situations in which I had to get out of my comfort zone, well, in my case, was that kind of marked me was when I left my parents' house. So I really think that sacrificing the comfort of living with your parents, with your mom, with your family, whatever it is, that is not having to worry about paying the rent, paying for anything, or paying for the bills, or getting your fridge full of food, or even cleaning after eating, or don't even mind leaving it for later because you know that at the end of the day there will be somebody to back you up, help you out. I think that's quite underrated and taken for granted, because I do believe I'm not speaking just for myself when I say that I grew up a lot when I left my mom's. And I have always been very responsible. Like, my mom never asked me to do a homework, to clean my room. No. But that was like life changing for me, because having lived by myself, or even jumping into this experience of a co-housing setup in which you need to understand your space and respect other people's space, people that you don't have like zero intimacy with, definitely put me in a very uncomfortable situation at first, because I had to communicate in different languages. I actually ended up living with people in which we didn't have a common language. That was amazing. I had to respect the space I had both in the kitchen, in the bathroom, to leave my belongings. So I believe those experiences kind of made me become more open-minded. And why do I say this? Because when you're living on your own or with your family, let's say you learn how to do things in a certain way. So we kind of internalize that this way of doing things is the only way possible, or even worse, the right way of doing things, right? So when you get out of this comfort zone and you confront other people's reality, you kind of, people who perhaps share different backgrounds, different cultures, you kind of realize that your way is just one among so many other possibilities. And I was wondering, how was it for you? How uncomfortable did you feel when you guys left your parents' house? Can you relate with me?
So mine was a little bit easy because starting high school, I went to a dorm room. So I wasn't already with my parents all weeks. I only saw them during the weekend. And so when I went to college, it was way more easier. It just changed like the city. And yes, there was a couple more of responsibility, like paying the rent, do the dishes, because in the dorm room you don't have to do the dishes. You eat at the cafeteria. But definitely I feel like cut the symbiotic relationship with the parent way earlier, and so it made it easier for me in college. And university as well, I moved it with one of my friends. I was in the dorm, so it was quite similar, just with more freedom, because you're not with people watching you and all. So it was great. I liked it.
Well, for me, I mean, I was already ready to leave this comfort, go into the discomfort when I was 21. But then, yeah, it didn't happen till I was 23, almost 24. And I also started with the dorm, and it was the last year of master. I did it in France, so like I learned slowly, very slowly, to manage my own finances, which wasn't easy because I loved going to the cinema. Like it was my coping mechanism. No, but seriously, like I spent so much money on cinema tickets, and like, but I was happy because I was, watching movies in foreign languages with foreign languages subtitles. Never happened to me. Like, of course, like I by that time I could understand English or French like quite fluently. Yeah, like that was just like, okay, you need to speak in that language because it's not guaranteed that there's somebody else that speaks your own language that you will meet up uh, every day, and you can talk in your own language. So like even just changing languages. Yeah, like I was living with people that were on Erasmus, so like also for me the discomfort was like, oh, I'm not seeing the same people every day for like a whole academic year, but you have to see who stays for 9 months and whoever leaves after 3 months. So that was already the discomfort. I think like when I moved to Ireland in 2019, end of 2019, and then I started living with people that did not speak my language at all. So like English was the only lingua franca that we had. And then I needed to manage my finances. And then like, I don't know, I think it got better with time. And especially because I lived, I think, with 20 people, 25 or something in the past 5 years and a half or something. If I don't count all the people in the dorm, of course, because that was like 2 entire blocks of people. Yeah, so like it made me realize how, first of all, it's a privilege to be moving to other countries and to be able to afford, afford to have money to pay rent and to become independent, but also to just, I don't know, go out, pursue like your dreams, and like in general starting a career, or like just paying for your hobbies. It's a position of privilege that of course you only have if you have a wealthy family, or like somebody even supporting you, even if you know or if even if you're sharing with your partner or whatever, like that already helps, I guess, in the especially when you're down, or I don't know, Sego, like maybe you have a bit more experience on this last part. But yeah, I think if you're completely going by yourself, then you develop a strength that you didn't know you had, especially when you're constantly moving countries. Like I moved 6 countries, Belgium is my sixth. So, I mean, if I don't count my own.
It's a lot of passport stamping.
So it's a lot of restarts every time. And yeah, it gets tiring, it gets inspiring. It depends on the moment. But yeah, it's it's ups and downs, but I think I'm happy that I took this path, and that I moved around. So like that would expand also my knowledge of the world.
It's really interesting that you brought up this topic because it is true. That's not like moving in and out, up and down. I think it's not really getting out of your comfort zone, but living with discomfort. And that's so brave because, as you said, it can be so tiring, it can be so exhausting going through all the bureaucracy every time you change a country and restarting everything from the scratch. Finding a new place, we know is not easy within a nice budget, in a nice place. Sometimes you don't even know where exactly in the area you should be living, right? Yeah, and sometimes you're not lucky enough to find something close to your office or to your university. So where did you get inspired to, I don't know, live in discomfort?
I don't know. I think it started already. Like I was not scared of traveling at all, because probably, I mean, it's a little anecdote, but when I was very little, like my grandpa was bringing me to the airport to see the planes leaving, and I
That's
was
cute.
happy. I was really, really happy, So like that made me um, kind of more probably feeling at ease with, the idea of, oh, you're moving countries. Oh, and I was seeing that environment quite a lot of times. So when I took my first plane, I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm going to see Paris. I can speak French, and I've been studying French for 9 months back then. So like that wasn't enough. But I was so happy. I was so thrilled of seeing a new environment, and like, even the things that maybe I've heard in school and everything. So like that didn't feel like a burden to me. It felt more like discovery and excitement. It's kind of an approach that I kept throughout the years, throughout all the moves, because yeah, like for Brussels, I had visited 3 times before, but I never lived there. And I was like, oh, I'm happy that I'm moving to Brussels, so I will get to discover more areas that I've never seen before because I was just a tourist.
That's really brave, actually.
Yeah.
Tiring. So, but I can totally relate. I mean, anyone who studied
Yeah.
international relations can relate. What about you, Sego?
So I admire Silvia because she did it alone. Me, I moved with my partner that is now my husband, but I don't think I will. I've never go live to another country if I was by myself. So that's why I admire Silvia so much, and that's why earlier I talked about having someone that give you a push to do things that you're uncomfortable with, and it less uncomfortable. So for me, it was easier because if something bad happened, I had someone else. We had two brains to figure out the bureaucracy and to figure out where we live, and we had two income also, which is so great for renting a place. So I think it make my experience, way easier than anyone else.
Yeah, it's good. But technically, I mean, yeah, you said that like you didn't do it by yourself, right? Because you have a partner. But the point is, I think we get this extra push, as you said, whenever you feel like you're being supported.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so sure that when you have somebody just cheering for you and comforting you in a sense that, okay, you try. If it doesn't work, we're here, right? I think that just gives a lot of, I don't know, calmness. I think that's the extra push, right? I see for myself, like I thought I was born and raised in Brazil, and my mom always told me like, you don't have a home, you have an airport. Okay, whenever you feel like landing, you come. But I feel like it doesn't matter, even if we're far, really far from where I am right now. Even if we're far, I don't feel her that disconnected. I feel her support even from far away, and I think that's what keeps motivating me. Knowing that, okay, I'm doing my best here to keep things moving forward, but worst scenario, I can't go back to that comfort that I had, right? And that's also challenging because comfort zone can also be, let's say, comprehended by the love and affection that you have from the people you love the most, basically. And well, one thing that you guys also mentioned about working and studying abroad and speaking other languages, well, I faced a lot of discomfort when I moved to Europe, of course, and here it was the case to take my master's in English. So at first it seemed really exhausting, especially when you're carrying out very detailed research on topics that you're not even familiar with. So I moved to another continent, and it was my first time in Europe. I had never visited. It was like completely a shot in the dark. I had no idea if I would like it or not, if I would feel safe or not, excited or not. But here I was. And I remember it was like yesterday. So when I was taking my masters, I would work in a Portuguese speaking environment. Then I would rush off to my university to take my master's classes that were in English, and then right after I would have Spanish class, and then right after run to take my Italian classes. So it was really tiring. It was even stressful, I think, to my body, even though consciously I wasn't feeling stressed, you know. So speaking other languages and having to shift from one to another can be very tiring, but I also feel like it helped me develop so many other skills, like becoming more competent in multitasking, for example. And I really feel like it's very health beneficial in a sense that the other day I was reading this research conducted by a neuroscientist, Ellen Bialystock, in which she said, quote unquote, learning languages is a stimulating mental activity in a good way also to exercise your brain because it helps improve cognitive abilities and also reduce the risk of developing some diseases like Alzheimer, for example. And so considering that in this context, so have you ever been through like a similar situation? You mentioned studying abroad, but what did you take from it? Like, what do you think you guys improved? In which sense you think you guys improved? And how was that for you? And how do you see it was any beneficial for you also perhaps for your spirit, for your mental health, for professionally perhaps?
It's cultural awareness, first of all. So you live in a country that does not have at all your same traditions, your same even festivities sometimes, or like customs. I remember like in Sego, like I know you understand like that you have to faire la bise, so like to kiss on the cheeks. Even people that you see for the first time, like complete strangers, And I remember like I was at this.
Integration.
Yes, 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 literally like, and I knew that it existed, but I remember I was at this evening. I was at this apéro, so like at this aperitivo kind of event with my classmates, and we were in a bar. And then I remember I saw like one of my classmates' girlfriends coming, and like everyone literally like stood up, and like we're all making like the bees with this person that I'd never seen before, and then I don't think I've ever seen her again. So like, it was just new customs, new traditions that I've only heard of until that time. Of course, the fact that you speak multiple languages helps you also understand the documents when it comes to bureaucracy. Like you improve your not only like your way of thinking, but also the way of understanding the other world, just by reading other like papers that are not in your native language. So for example, like I don't know, when you need to register for fiscal taxes purposes in Ireland, like Sego and I did, or like to open a bank account in another country, and like you're faced with different realities when it comes to bureaucracy. And like even though we're in Europe, we all have different administrations, and sometimes it varies from city to city. So yeah, it's kind of, I would say, what you learn is to adapt each time.
So I want to say just first thing, in French, we don't have like a really good way of learning new languages. School is not good for learning new languages. So I always was like really, really bad at English, and I did German. I know only how to say I love you now in German. I don't know any other word. So I kind of had to learn English on my own time. And before moving to Ireland, I was really good at understanding, but I had really know other people, how to practice, how to speak. So it took me like the few months I came to Ireland, I was so worried of speaking because my pronunciation wasn't really good, and I was really worried to be judged. But then it got way better, and so I think I gained a bit more of confidence in myself. And one downside, though, of speaking two languages is sometimes you forget how to speak in your own. It's really weird. Sometimes you forget words like you're.
Really?
Oh my god.
The time.
So it's a bit funny, but I like being able to speak more languages because you can converse with more people and connect with more people. So I like it, but there is downsides to it. But I like
Yeah, tell
Yeah,
that to our brain that speak 4 languages.
it.
God have mercy. But it's interesting because you do need to get out of your comfort zone, not just to talk in other languages, but also to learn, right?
Yeah.
Because now that you were saying, I remember when I was speaking English at the beginning, I was super embarrassed because I didn't want to offend anyone. I didn't want to embarrass myself, right? And actually, I embarrassed myself because I remember I went to this restaurant, instead of asking for a napkin, I asked for a kidnap. But here I am, C2 level, guys. So we need to get out of our comfort zone to actually become, it is true, actually become fluent, right? Because after that, so many doors open. Yeah, but so we need also to create the good habits, of course, of talking on a daily basis, getting content, right? Talking to perhaps your friends will help you improve your vocabulary, correct you whenever you have the chance to exchange a little bit. But one thing that is also important when it comes to getting out of your comfort zone is to identifying those unbreakable habits that we have. And well, Sylvia is my witness here. It's undeniable that I'm an early bird.
I
Very
confirm.
early bird.
I confirm.
And I have become quite used to waking up early, including during the weekends. Okay. And it's a habit that I acquired at a very young age. And of course, it can be very uncomfortable, especially for those who I wouldn't properly entitle morning people, right? But the only reason why I think I embrace the discomfort of catapulting out of my bed 6 in the morning is because I don't see it as a burden. I actually take that in good spirit. I take that with positive. I see it as an opportunity to, get up and start ticking all the boxes of my never ending to do list. So, ladies, question for you. Why do you think we stay in our comfort zone, even when we are willing to change? And what do you do to avoid giving in to comfort? That's a good one. Take your time.
I agree. I think it's because it's easier. And our brain is really well made, so it will choose the easiest things to do. And because that you're really good at something, you will continue to do it. I remember reading, when you watch a movie in another languages, but you put the subtitle in your languages, your brain
Yeah.
will only concentrate on the subtitle and not even like capture the words because it's easier for you. So I think it comes to being easy, and I think it's also a way of protecting ourselves, because if you stay in your comfort zone and you stay with doing things that you can do, you can't fail. And since you can't fail, you can't, it doesn't impact your self-esteem or anything. So I think it's just a way to protect ourselves as well.
Yeah, I agree with Sego that sometimes it's the fear of failure. It's also the fear of the unknown. Like you don't know what's going to happen if you leave the nest you created yourself and you've grown up. But I think that it is so important because if you don't have a change, even just thinking of changing the route when you go to work in the morning, going to a different alley and maybe discovering new cute things. Like there's graffiti street and that you never known existed until like you decide, oh, I want to take this shortcut this time, and I don't know where it will lead me, but then here I am. So even doing just simple acts, I guess it brings you happiness, but we need to be also in the right mood. Because I think if we don't feel motivated or if we don't feel ready to let go of that habit, then we will not make the change. It's a question of willingness to do it. So if you don't have like the willingness to change, then you will not even try, even think remotely of putting yourself out. If you want to do it for whatever reason you want to, then you will. It doesn't matter when, but you will eventually.
Completely relate. Yes, and it's funny because then your shortcut becomes your new favorite path, just because you give a chance to something new, right?
I think it's just like, so there is a difference though between, being uncomfortable with doing things that we like, and being comfortable because you ate it. So I think it's important to see the difference and to not force yourself to do things that you hate, because we have work, we have like our responsibilities as adults, so don't lose time on things you hate. For example, not too long ago I did a weekend workshop in improvisation. I know I would like it, but I was uncomfortable with going out to stranger and possibly embarrass myself, so I kind of had to force myself. I paid for it and it cost a little bit of money, so it's a way as well. I already paid for it, I have to go now. Yeah, so each time I see something that I know I would like, I kind of try to force myself to go for it, and then I end up having a good time and loving it and never regret doing it. So just forcing yourself at the beginning to do things that you will love. Don't do things you hate.
Yeah, I see where you come from. Well, I think in my case, I don't have a TV at home, and I think that's the best decision I've ever made for my life. And I try to track and control and limit as much as I can my interaction on social media. Yeah, because I truly believe that we are being kind of seduced in glowing content TV shows or being swallowed by our couches, and especially Gen Z. Of course, now I have gray hair, I cannot include myself in that, but especially Gen Z have been misusing their time by keeping eternally scrolling on social media. And there are endless studies on how new technology has and is still contributing to the development of depression and anxiety. In case you haven't watched it, I strongly recommend this Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma. Really nicely done. It's gonna bring up the topic. It's gonna definitely change your perspective on this topic. But also other studies that will suggest that even the movement that we do with our eyes, this top down continuously, can stress our bodies. That is why in some relaxation techniques, they specialists will opt for those left to the right kind of movement, because that is believed to make your body relax. So it is true that we don't really need technology to fill this void of procrastination, or to make us procrastinate better, or this void of, okay, what do I do with my time right now? Even keeping your social life busy, kind of a full schedule just to mask the emptiness of our days, is something to be taken into account, right? Because here I'm not talking about running from your Pilates session to your guitar class. Definitely not the case, because that to me is being productive, because at least you're trying to develop a skill or to keep up with your hobbies, with your passions, even with your health. But filling the void here, I mean those people who can't be by themselves not even one single day, not even one single night. And I wonder, what are they trying to run away from? Because facing the reality is also getting out of your comfort zone. And I don't know, girls, what do you think in this sense?
I think it's case by case. Some people do need a distraction because they're more productive. I'm thinking like of neurodivergent people that I met, and like without the phone or without even like I don't know having like a series in the background or like whatever, they have coping mechanisms that they need to use, or like even if you're not neurodivergent necessarily, but you adopt like certain techniques to keep you going. What prevents us from taking the leap? I think we have grown too accustomed to being comfortable in some cases. So we just rely on any tools that we have available, and it's nearby, and it can be accessed very easily from our phones or, I don't know, computers, but mostly from our phones. And we just decide to use it because everyone does. Why should we, be part of the counter revolution, and not do like everyone does? I think there's also a kind of an evolution in the critical thinking part, meaning that even if people maybe know that, I don't know, social media are dangerous, or like doom scrolling like literally like leads nowhere, but still, like, since everyone does it, why shouldn't I do it as well? I think because our societies are, especially like in the past 20 years, like, or even before, we've been, at least in Western countries, into like follow, what everyone does, but in terms of habits, not in terms of morals. So in a way, we're just following what everyone is doing, and we're not thinking much about it. And I do completely agree that there are so many, so many, so many ways that we can be more productive, let's say, but instead we just, lie on the couch, relax ourselves. I mean, sometimes we need it, let's be honest. But maybe all the time it can be sort of like, oh, I want to avoid this problem and I want to procrastinate as much as I can. And
But I
yeah,
think you need to be wise enough to distinguish when you're trying to run away from something and when you are actually conceiving you the time to
yeah, I think,
relax because it's well deserved.
yeah. Yeah, I think like people know, especially when they know that they want to do something specifically, but they're trying to avoid it. I mean, I don't think like we're not aware of when we are escaping and when we just want to relax. But I'll let also Sego speak about it.
So I do want to say I have a problem with my phone. I'm way too much on it, and I can see that at the moment where I'm most anxious, I tend to doom scroll way more than when I'm, not anxious. And I think it's a real addiction. It's in your brain. It releases so much dopamine that give you the short relief, but in the long term, I feel like really bad about myself. So I'm trying to work on it. I think one thing about our current life, is that we are as well way more sedentary people. So we kind of have like do the same things every day, which is kind of can be boring sometimes. And so we don't really get exciting things if we stay in our usual schedule, or if for now, more and more people work from home, which I do work from home, which is great in some sense, but in another, it means that I don't go outside as much and I'm like in my own bubble. And I feel like, what was comforting became even harder for me to go out of, because I'm every day at home from work. So it's becoming an habit way stronger to break. And I'm already an introvert, so going out like it's like I don't want to go, but it makes it even more difficult.
I say, well, thank you for sharing. And I think that's really important that at very least you're aware of this and that you're, trying to, let's say, check in and limit as much as you can, right? Or at very least working on that. But yeah, I think, well, if you're an extrovert, perhaps it's easier to want to get out, right? And you wouldn't feel like getting out as getting out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Well, guys, any advice you would give to our listeners when they are facing uncomfortable situations?
I recently made a shopping spree on card games, which are made to be knowing people, right? So I would advise, if you need a prop, buy a card games with questions, use with friends or even with strangers, and go out, like go to events, go to something. Like, if you don't feel comfortable going by yourself, maybe ask a friend that knows, like, you have maybe this anxiety, or like, oh, I don't feel like going by myself anyways. But you can bring your own deck of cards whenever, and maybe that will slowly put you out of your comfort zone, and that can be a prop that I would suggest.
So I think it's great to know your boundaries as well, because for example, if you are like me, an introvert, sometimes you're not gonna have a good time, so choose your social setting, choose what you want to do. And yeah, if it's too hard for you, have a push for from someone that you trust to help you, like, at least take the first step, because it's always wise, it's starting. Once you started, you realize that it's not as bad as you thought it would be, and it become easier. So just for the first step, have someone that just push you gently to make it easier.
Lovely. Oh, well, in my case, I would say just to embrace them, like fearlessly, because I think it's probably the best way, the easiest way, the fastest way to develop a skill, to mature, to create new and even greater opportunities at personal level and at a professional level. I think we're coming to a close here. So remember, growth starts where comfort ends. So keep pushing forward. Thanks for spending your time with us today, and until next time.
Thank you. Bye
Bye.
bye.